Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Field Goals and Forecast, from inside the radio station at 88.3 FM, The Buzz, St. Bonaventure, New York. I am Ryan Adio, joined again by my lovely co-host, Mr. James Derrick. The conference championship has just concluded. There's one more week of NFL football remaining, and it's the Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl 59, a rematch of the 2022 matchup. I know your initial reaction, but I would love to hear your initial reaction to this less than interesting Super Bowl, I suppose.
I mean, it'll be a nice rematch, I guess, for both teams involved. I feel like a rematch is something that is super engaging if you're part of the rematch.
That's true.
However, for the rest of the league, it's just this again. So.
Right.
I definitely see it through that perspective. As great as the players are that are going to be playing in the Super Bowl, of course I'll watch it, but it's not going to be as hyped up, or I'm not going to be looking forward to it, really.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, especially around the league, have just been like, yeah, I'm not watching it, Chiefs back again, third year in a row, looking to complete that three-peat, and of course the Eagles looking to get their win that they think that they well-deserved in the 2022 Super Bowl. But not going to harp too much on that for now. We'll talk about that more next week when we give our predictions, we give stuff like that. But we've got 2 weeks until the Super Bowl, so we got enough time to talk about it, I promise you. Let's start with some news around the league. We'll go into those game recaps, and then I've got a few talking topics for us this week. But let's start with the news, as per usual. The Cowboys, they finally got their head coach. They're going to hire their offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And he will be their next head coach following Mike McCarthy. And, of course, they're going to hire a new defensive coordinator as well. They're going to hire Matt Eberflus, the former Bears head coach. James, I know you've got some thoughts on this.
Mostly for me, I don't know how Eberflus is going to work out as just a
DC. That's fine.
The Bears had a great
that's
defense,
fine.
Yeah, that's fine. But hiring Brian Schottenheimer, there's a lot that's still yet to be observed. But I think the biggest point to take away here as a Dallas fan is just like Jerry Jones is just going to continue to be a thorn in your side, kind of.
Yeah.
I was just listening to his presser the other day when this news came out, and he was just bringing up some kind of weird things to say when you're welcoming a coach into your franchise. I guess as the head coach, right? He's not just being welcomed; he's been there. But
right.
He was saying it's if you don't think I can operate out of my comfort zone, you're wrong. This is so far out of my comfort zone. This is a risky move. It's almost like those are the kind of things you say when you want to give yourself some praise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's a risky move, I guess, because he has no head coach experience. There were a lot of better candidates available, I feel like. And it's an offensive coordinator that wasn't even calling offensive plays, if I'm not incorrect about that. I don't really know. I don't know how it's going to play out. Maybe Jerry's right. Do I really think he is? No. But there's not much more to say until he really gets on the field. Cowboys, obviously, a lot of talent, looking to go back to just winning a playoff game since the 90s, and maybe Brian Schottenheimer will lead them there. But 2 years, I think we'll be back having this discussion again. But let's continue. Raiders are going to hire Pete Carroll as their next head coach, obviously former Seahawks head coach, USC Trojans head coach, lot of wins under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good move. I don't hate it. If he's out in a couple of years, it is what it is. I don't mind the move. It's better than Deion Sanders, I guess.
Yeah.
So
it's just an eyebrow raiser. Hard to see them going anywhere without a quarterback, but
right.
That will remain to be seen. Maybe just for player development.
Yeah, and we'll see in the offseason if they try to trade for someone or try to trade up or do anything.
Yeah.
And then one more final head coach here. Buccaneers offensive coordinator was hired by the Jaguars to be their next head coach. He had this huge offer from the Buccaneers to stay and be their offense coordinator. It's the largest contract for a coordinating head coach in history. And he
History?
removed himself from the running. He said, I'm not going to be a head coach. I'm not going to go to Jacksonville. And then ghosted them, apparently, for 24-plus hours and has now become their head coach. And he... did you see the Duval that he had?
No, explain.
Obviously, Jacksonville, Duval, it's like their thing, Duval, right? Yeah, whatever. So they brought him in, they were like, hey, like, say the thing. It was weak. It reminded me, do you remember when Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals head coach, he brought everybody in and he was trying to give a motivational speech and it wasn't really working?
Yes, actually, that was
okay.
that was painful.
That's what it reminded me of. It was very painful to watch. But other than that, is what it is, I guess. Interesting turn of events. We had a lot of coach hires here. So Robert Saleh is going to return to the 49ers to be their defensive coordinator again. Obviously had that really big stunt with them. Great defensive-minded coach. I think he'll do great things there. The Bears are going to hire former Saints head coach Dennis Allen to be their defensive coordinator. The Seahawks are going to hire Saints offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak to be their next offensive coordinator. The Lions are going to hire Kelvin Shepard to be their defensive coordinator. He was an in-house hire. He some positional coach for the Lions, I believe. The Texans are going to fire their offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick after 2 seasons. That was kind of out of the blue, but understandable.
Yeah.
The Jets are going to hire the Broncos' assistant GM Darren Mugi to be their new GM. And this is the big discussion point here, I think. He's got a huge decision coming up. If you're in his position here, what are you going to do with Aaron Rodgers?
This is first of all, like to preface, impossible situation.
Right.
They must think this Darren Mugi is.
Hopefully we're saying that right. I don't know. It's Mougey.
They must think he's very good because, personally, I wouldn't know what to do with Rodgers. I think when you have a talent like that, he's on the team. You must ride it. You must ride with it. He's there to be the quarterback. You give it one more year. See if this defense can be as good as it was, and you see if Rodgers can be as good as he was. I feel like it's not out of the question though that trade deadline next year, if things aren't going well, that everyone is just gone.
Right. It's a huge just organizational decision. Who do you draft? Who do you stay with Rodgers? Do you trade for a QB? Do you I don't know. There's a lot of things that they could do. There's a lot of things that I think they should do, but when you're a new GM working with Aaron Rodgers and
I know, right?
Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, whatever. Just a tough spot to be in, I would say, and the Jets need something. So I wonder what they're going to do, obviously, with Rodgers and with their QB situation in general. But that is all the news I've got. Let's move on to some game recaps. I'm going to start with the less heartbreaking of them, at least for us. Commanders at Eagles, final score 55-23 to the Eagles. The most points ever scored in a conference championship. The Eagles just dominated this game.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, the Commanders were hanging around for a while, but I mean,
Tell me
what you think in terms of how Philly dominated this game as it went on, right? Because they were staying in it, because the Commanders were, but by the end, they're just too dominant.
Yeah. Well, the Eagles start with the Eagles have Saquon Barkley. They had 7 rush touchdowns. One of them, Will Shipley. I want to say 2 of them were Jalen Hurts, and 3. Is that 7? No, that's only 6. I'm missing somebody in there, but 7 rush touchdowns in total. The Eagles, they just played mistake-free, perfect football all day. And the Commanders, we were saying this last time, they're such a good team at playing this mistake-free, just safe football, and they went so far away from that in this game. 3 fumbles and an interception, that's almost unheard of for the Commanders. So when you have 4 turnovers, that's why you're going to get dominated. Right?
Yeah, that's going to end up happening. You thought it was due, right?
Right.
I'm sure a lot of the people watching, knew it was due for the Commanders. He's a rookie, right?
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels. But, of course this doesn't all fall on him. But like you said, you're not going to be able to turn the ball over that many times and win a crucial playoff game. And the Eagles were poised. They didn't lose it for, really any amount of time at all in that game. And they look like the soon-to-be champions to me, but we can talk about
we'll
that
see.
a little bit
Yeah,
later.
I mean, I'm going to agree with you for now. But obviously, we'll get into that sometime in the future. Just one thing that really came out of this game, Jalen Hurts really proving all the doubters wrong, at least in my opinion. A lot of people were saying he's the worst quarterback remaining. Even when we had 8 quarterbacks left, we had 8 teams left, people were saying he was the worst of the 8 quarterbacks. Absolutely proved them wrong in this one.
Yeah.
He had just very solid, very consistent, very good numbers through the air, great numbers on the ground, 20 for 28 in the air, 246 yards, and a passing touchdown. 10 carries, 16 yards, and 3 touchdowns for Jalen Hurts. Not 2. I thought he had 2. He has 3. So that's your 7. Saquon had 3, Jalen Hurts had 3, and Will Shipley had 1. But he doesn't have to pass. Even when he does pass. There was that one to A.J. Brown. He's being covered by Marshawn Lattimore. It's one-on-one sideline coverage. And A.J. Brown is just... He's probably had like a good maybe half a foot of separation. And Jalen Hurts just puts that one perfect spot where only A.J. Brown can catch it. And that's what he does when he has to throw the ball. But when Saquon rips off a 60-yard run, first play of the game, yeah, Sirianni's going to say, no, Jalen, just do what you got to do, right? Am I crazy for saying that? I feel like Jalen Hurts is wildly underrated, and he's just over-criticized all the time.
I can echo that a little bit. I think it's also with, postseason football, and you want to protect the rock. They're running the ball more. They're getting into bigger sets, more tight ends. The usage of Zach Goddard has just gone through the roof as this postseason continues on. I think he's making the right plays, and when he does have to go up top, and like you said, that play, A.J. Brown and Marshawn Lattimore, that was the epitome of that game for the Eagles, where it's kind of just like, regardless of how well the Commanders might seem to be playing or might stick with them, ultimately the Eagles had all the explosive plays. They really had whatever they want, and Jalen Hurts was the biggest reason for that. You can argue Saquon Barkley. I think they're both just as important, but, the quarterback more or less is the leader of the team, right? They call the plays. So,
right.
I think I have to echo that he is underrated at this point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's not much more I can say about that. He's just overly criticized all the time. Sure, he doesn't have great passing numbers, but when he does throw the ball, he's very good. He's very consistent. I don't even know when the last time he threw an interception was. Obviously, now I've jinxed him against the Chiefs, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't make too many mistakes. He does what he has to do to get them to win. He doesn't put their defense in bad hot water, and it's just exactly what you need out of a quarterback. I mean, and his legs. I think that's the biggest thing as well. A lot of people kind of overlook that. The fact that they run play action on almost every play. Whether he gives it to Saquon, whether he takes it himself, whether he throws it, the defense has no idea what he's about to do. It keeps them on their heels 24/7. I think that's the most underrated, huge just weapon for the Eagles. And the RPO just is that's the Eagles' offense.
Yeah, and I think that helps out Sirianni's case a lot too. I've had no questions in terms of play calling. I think he's been dialed in with his team as well. I think they all have, maybe different from a couple years ago, where honestly they probably could have and should have won the Super Bowl.
Right.
They're all on the same page right now. It's clicking in Philadelphia. I think it's almost like they're all reading the same book or something. Everyone mentally is locked in. And Philly, for me, that's why it looks like they're such a good team right now. I really want to pick them to win the Super Bowl.
And we haven't even talked about their defense.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about their defense.
Defense is the same. That's why I'm saying it's for the whole team, really. But I don't know. I don't have much else to say on this Commanders-Eagles game, but if you...
I mean, we didn't talk about the defense, but we kind of just said it in passing. The defense is just too good. Jaden Daniels, unable to really get anything going. He was 29 for 48, 255 yards, touchdown, interception. When the game gets that late, you can't rely on the run game. It has to go through the pass. And the Eagles' secondary is just so solid, so consistent. Quinyon Mitchell allowed one catch on 4 targets for only 7 yards and an interception, and he was covering Terry McLaurin majority of the time.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And Zach Ertz, I mean, that was the only real shining star for the Commanders there. 11 receptions, 104 yards in his kind of like revenge game against the Eagles, right? But, some underrated key members here, I guess, like Will Shipley, Zach Ertz, those here too. 4 carries for Will Shipley, 77 yards, a touchdown, and a forced fumble and a kick return. Eagles just firing on all cylinders, perfect on every phase of the game. You don't put up 55 points if you're not the most dominant team.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I really got. Let's jump into this heartbreaker here. Yeah. I'm not really even sure what I can say. Bills, Chiefs. Chiefs take this one 32-29. The Bills just cannot get over the hump, cannot defeat the Kansas City Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Yeah. My turning point in this game is the Christian Benford concussion.
Absolutely.
I think that killed us, and it happened so early on, and you're already down Taylor Rapp. The defense just wasn't there. It just wasn't there.
No, and you have a feeling there was a couple more stops that we could have gotten if Kaiir Elam wasn't on the field. I really don't want to hate on him too much. Obviously, it's really hard the position he was put in. He shouldn't have been playing, though, you know?
Yeah.
Right? That's supposed to be, Christian Benford, and it really sucks when something like that happens so early in the game. As soon as I saw it, I saw him down on the ground. I heard Tony Romo go, "Oh, no, this isn't good." And then
he's sleeping on the cart ride out.
Yeah.
That's bad. It looked terrible.
You knew he wasn't going to come back when he still wasn't even awake in the cart. So I was like, crap, this is not good, and it changed the entire game for us defensively.
Yeah. Chiefs black magic. I don't know. Hit us again.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I mean, Kaiir Elam just is not that guy. He's not that kind of player to step in and eat that role. He was playing so soft on defense, like just playing so far back. He was expecting a 40-yard pass on every throw, and they were just hitting him with hitch routes. And yeah, that's how they beat us every single time. They would just run a hitch route, and Kair's 40 yards down the field. I don't know if I would have thrown Kaiir in that situation. Do you think Jamarcus Ingram would have been any better, I guess?
Maybe they could have changed it up a little more often, right? Kept it a little more
Switch
fresh.
them in and out, right?
But no. In all honesty, no. Maybe when you see it, I think it was very much so more mental for Kaiir Elam. I think me and you can both agree that, honestly, the physicals and the skill, there was, he's kind of a bust now. I hate to say that, but
I would agree.
He definitely once had it, right?
Yeah.
I think it was all mental out there. I think he thought he was going to get beat on every play, and that really affected him.
So he was drafted in 2022, right? I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2022. We also drafted Benford in 2022 in the 6th round. Kaiir was in the first. I think he was picked 2022, if that sounds right.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. Well, I want to talk about this later for sure. And he was considered one of the best man corners in the draft. I think he was either considered very high man, very low zone, or very high zone, very low man. But I want to say he was considered just one of the best man corners in the draft. And if you know anything about the Buffalo Bills, we play man like one every 12 plays.
Well, or in the playoffs when we really need to get pressure and get the ball out of Mahomes' hands.
Yeah. And when he was playing man, he still wasn't good.
Yeah.
I mean, we switched to zone and he couldn't handle it. We switched to man, he couldn't handle it. He was falling on the field. He was allowing wide open receivers. I would say if there's one player you could really blame for this loss, it would be him. But you can't. You can't.
No.
I mean, I guess you could also throw in DeMar Hamlin in there. He was covering Travis Kelce. I don't know what the play was there. Yeah, just
I don't know.
think Rapp was 100% their plan. And he was 100% that guy where they were like, we're going to put Kelce.
Yeah.
He's going to go one-on-one with him. And now it's up to DeMar. And it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. There were a few holding calls. He was just getting a little too grabby with him. And then that leaves Kyer to just...
Yeah.
I don't know.
You want to turn this over to the offensive side of the ball for the Bills?
Yeah, let's... great games. Just a great game, really, out of pretty much everyone on the offensive side of the ball. Allen, 22 for 34, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. Statistically, just, again, one of the best quarterbacks in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Cook had 13 carries, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was hot, like red hot.
Yeah.
And we just stopped feeding him the ball at some point. Mac Hollins finally stepped up, finally became that guy. 3 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown. 2 of those on just bombs from Josh Allen, like perfect throws.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the only time where I will say the offense had a shot to go and beat the Chiefs, to finally beat that narrative, and they just could not do it, and it was up to the offense, where usually the offense goes down and scores, and the defense just can't hold.
I will say, coming out of halftime, the way we ran the ball right after halftime was so encouraging. I think I wasn't very confident in that game until that point when I saw us run down the field. And then I go, okay, so we're back to this. Whoever gets the ball last.
Right.
And we
had like 13 of 14 of our plays be run or something like that.
Yeah.
On that one drive. And it worked so well, and then we just went away from it. Which, I get it, it runs the clock, but it just feels like something you can't turn away from so easily.
Yeah.
Especially when you're running so well on the number one rush defense, and, I mean, even defense probably, in the league. I think the Eagles are the number one defense, but Chiefs definitely have the number one rush defense. They had it all season. When you're running so well on them and it's working so well, turning away from it just didn't feel like the right move. We had way too many tush pushes.
Yeah, I think
way too many.
It definitely gets old, and I feel like you could change it up a little bit. Even if you just want to go straight up the middle. I hate the go left every time.
Yeah.
I promise and I think James Cook with the ball there would have been fine too.
Yeah, I promise you, you get in an ISO formation, you get Reggie Gilliam, James Cook, and Josh Allen, and you run James Cook straight up in an ISO to the right or to the left with Gilliam leading. I'm telling you, you're going to get that first down.
Yeah, with Gilliam clearing the way. And then just kind of the way our O-line has blocked.
You see how much we run jumbo formation. Like, Alec Anderson is in there almost every single play.
Which I will say, for a playoff game, kind of an unacceptable amount of mistakes from him, not reporting as eligible in some plays,
that was...
and illegal formation, another play.
Yeah, when that's your job, when you're the sixth lineman and you come in for those jumbo plays, how do you not report every single time you come on the field?
In the AFC Championship game.
I mean, that was... bad. I mean, but that really was our biggest mistake.
Yeah, and it didn't really. I don't know. I will say when we began to run the ball better, the Chiefs' defense did kind of catch up to that a little bit.
Yeah,
I think Romo alluded to on the broadcast that Spagnuolo sat them down and said they want to run the ball right now. We got to stuff the run. That's just good coaching, right? But still, I think what it comes down to is like 3 minutes and 30 seconds. We had the ball. We could have ran it a little more, right? Yeah. I think you believe that too.
Yeah, I do.
And we didn't. I think we wanted to make sure the ball was in Josh Allen's hands.
And I get that. I do.
I totally get that too. To be honest, it's one of those things where maybe if they ran the ball, the drive would have been even worse.
Yeah.
I really can't blame play calling right now. I really can't.
Yeah.
When you
The only plays I thought were just terrible were the tush pushes, because I was like, I get it. And you know what? It works 90% of the time, but it hasn't worked all day. You got to go to something different. And even when we did go to something different, that James Cook speed out, where they gave it to him on the 2-point conversion, that was such a nice play. That was such a good play. We dug so deep for that, and that worked. And so why don't you have more things like that lined up? Why are we going for the tush push every single time? Why are we speeding up our offense so fast? Why are we taking breaks and then jumping straight into the tush push? It felt like just mistake after mistake. And the only other play I would say, I really looked at the screen and said, what are we doing? Was the Amari Cooper screen on 3rd and 10.
I can kind of understand it. He knew everyone was coming. And you knew you'd have 2 blockers on the outside and 2 DBs, really. But
is Amari Cooper really the guy?
That's what I'm saying, right? Is Amari Cooper? I guess they want to disguise it, right?
Where's Shakir? Put him in that situation. I get disguising it, but
when you need yards,
you need yards. Yeah,
3rd and 10.
Yeah, and then I think the play that we ran on that 4th and 5, it broke down. It broke down. Obviously, the O-line. I mean, Spags sent the whole team.
Yeah,
but I think the play that we did run, we had 2 open receivers.
It was a good play.
Which you can't blame Josh for that. Everyone was in his face, and obviously Kincaid drops the ball. That's one you've got to have. I know it's a broken play. I know he's coming back for it. I mean, especially when you're a first-round pick, and especially when you're a tight end, when you're supposed to be that reliable safety guy, you got to come down with that.
Yeah, and I can understand how guys drop the ball in a lot of situations, and I don't blame Dalton Kincaid for dropping this pass, but it had so much air under it too.
Yeah.
It's not like it was fired in there and normal Josh Allen style. I think Shakir had a drop in a Chiefs game earlier in the year, and we were kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he dropped that. That's kind of Josh threw the ball really hard. Sometimes that happens. That had a lot of air under it.
It was literally just a floater.
It was a floater. He dropped it. I mean, I think that would have been the craziest play I've ever seen in my entire life, and that would have been what it takes for the Bills to beat the Chiefs.
Think about how much that would have fired up the team if that would have completed. But
it's a heartbreaker.
The call was fine. The O-line just wasn't ready or something. I don't even know what to say about that.
Well, did we have anyone in the backfield even?
Yeah, I mean, we had Shakir.
We did have Shakir.
He was running around in the backfield.
I kind of, I will say when they're sending that much, I kind of like when Ty Johnson's there for just in case someone gets a free run.
I think there were about 3 free runners on Josh.
Yeah,
Ty would have had to block 3 defensive linemen if he was back there.
It wasn't even like the linebackers that got in. It was the 300-pound defensive linemen. Right. So in that case, having Ty Johnson in the backfield doesn't even help. Again, we've been talking about it. I don't critique the coaching in this spot whatsoever. I think we did the right play.
Spags is just... When you're a rookie offensive coordinator, and I think somebody brought this up to me, when you're a rookie offensive coordinator and you're going against the best of the best in Steve Spagnuolo, the fact that Joe Brady did as well as he did is something. Is saying something, right? I think Spagnuolo is the best coordinator in the league. His defense just shows up. I mean, it's perfect. It is borderline perfect. On every play, he knows exactly what to run. I mean, 4th and 5, that is exactly what you do, right? And that was definitely the best part of that game for the Chiefs, I would say. Their offense was good. I think our defense was just bad as well. I don't know if you really want to talk about this. I know you're not a big fan of talking about this, but do you want to talk about the questionable referee calls?
Sure. I mean,
you have to. I mean, I guess you have to now. Every time there's a Chiefs game, you have to talk about this. The Josh Allen first down, what did you see? Do you think he got it?
Well, as a Bills fan, and honestly just me, I think he got it.
Yeah.
However, on the field, the ref with a clearer view was the guy who was shorter.
Right.
And the ref on the other side of the field was the one with the first down. I mean, maybe it's just wishful thinking, but when I see the replay, I could swear that as long as the camera was actually straight down the line, I thought the nose of the ball may have got there.
I think it
If
did
the
as
camera
well.
wasn't straight down the line, then I can see why the refs would say, no, it's not there, because although it looks like it gets there, it's not a straight shot. No,
Yeah, I've seen it over and over and over, and people put lines on the screen, and they've showed, and the nose just barely crosses. It's such a hard call to make. I do think he did get it, but I don't know how they really would have called that in real time.
Yeah, and that's not the ref's job to come save you at that point when you just barely by millimeters get the first down.
Yeah.
Get the first down by a couple yards.
Right. That
You know
shouldn't
what I mean?
it shouldn't come down to the refs, and that's another thing. It should never come down to, wow, this call is so close. I mean, how can we really even make this? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We should have got that first down by 3 yards. You know.
Yeah.
There was the interception that wasn't an interception that ended up being a catch for Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst one in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, it was the worst one for Mahomes, too. That was the play that Kyer Elam just completely fell down on Juju Smith-Schuster. They would have had a touchdown for sure. Or not for sure, but,
It would have been close.
Juju could have had a
Probably would
pretty
have been the
decent
same
shot
game.
at running that in, and that would have been a huge momentum boost. But still, ball hits the ground. I think Gene Steratore was saying that because it didn't move, that it was a catch, right? The ball hits the ground, but the ball doesn't move.
I mean, we've seen it.
I feel like
we've seen it so often where it's just the opposite.
yeah.
You know what I'm
then
saying? It's like-
Calvin Johnson years back should have had his catch too.
Des
then.
Bryant should have had his catch back. Yeah.
It's crappy, but again, don't leave it up to the refs. Like honestly, just swat that ball.
Yeah.
we
I mean,
went for a pick.
Cole has a perfect spot on that. I mean,
It was still a
he's just
crazy
gotta-
play.
He's got to be just. I don't know.
Was it Worthy that went up for that? By the
Yeah,
way?
it was Worthy, and
Worthy makes a hell of a play.
I mean, he rips it out of Cole's arms, and I get it, and like that's what you're supposed to do. Ty goes to the receiver, but it's such a tough. It's just such a tough break,
Yeah, because I got really excited. I thought we may have had a pick there just because of how he was positioned. He had that play right in front of him. That was almost like his welcome to the league moment.
Yeah, right.
AFC Championship game. You're playing. You have a chance to make an interception that would flip this game on its head, and you get it ripped out of your arms by Xavier Worthy of all people. Again, I'm not going to blame the refs.
It's tough.
Xavier Worthy did miles above what he was even expected to do to allow the refs to make that call.
Right. I agree with that. It's a tough call. I think it should have just been incomplete, honestly. But I'm not wearing stripes. What can I say?
Exactly.
There were a lot of missed holds, missed block in the backs, but that's every Chiefs game. You have to kind of expect that. Not
there was
really
the
much.
one on Ed Oliver too that people keep alluding to. I mean, again, in real time, it kind of might look a little more to the ref like he has a better angle, and Ed Oliver's just trying to sell.
I get it.
whole-
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah. And refs don't want to be the ones to make those calls.
No,
They don't.
No, they don't. As much as they have to and do, they don't want to. As much as they wanted to with the Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl a couple years ago. Anyways,
I mean, what else can you really say? It's a Bills Chiefs game. Same thing, different year. I guess what can you say but get him next year, right?
yeah, that's all you can say.
I know every Bills fan is rooting for the Eagles in this one. At least
I'm actually
hoping the Chiefs don't win. I mean, I know people are like, I hope a meteor just hits the stadium, right? But I'm rooting for the Eagles. I'll tell you what.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm rooting for the Chiefs.
Wow.
I think it would just give me so much more, validation in my frustrated feelings for Josh Allen, knowing that he is so close to being an all-time great first ballot Hall of Famer if a couple plays in a couple games go differently. I want to be able to say at the end of my life as a Bills fan and say, what, Josh Allen didn't win a Super Bowl because the greatest football dynasty to ever don this earth won 3 chips in a row. What do you want me to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I get it.
We play them close every time.
I also would like just for their three-peat to be spoiled.
Yeah.
I think that would be
too.
even funnier, actually. But I've got a question for you here.
Sure.
Of these three, put your bias aside a little bit here. But the Bills' bias aside.
Okay.
Which of these three do you think is going to be the first one to win a championship, honestly? Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, or Lamar Jackson?
Oh, that's so hard. I think I'd have to go with Joe Burrow because of
Really?
how if they can get that defense in shape, I mean, that's really all it takes. Their offense is like they lost Joe Mixon and
Yeah.
still did what they did, and we saw what Joe Mixon did for the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they get another running back in there they kind of have a decent running back room anyways, you know. They still have Chase Brown, Zach Moss. I don't know what is he coming back next year? Zach
That's
Moss?
a great question.
I actually don't know if he's got multiple years, but
I would assume maybe, but they might also go for a running back in the draft.
yeah. But regardless, I think the Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, as long as they have that, I think they have the best chance at winning. I think if Jamar for some reason left, you can put Joe Burrow in last. I don't think he can do it without like the best receiver in the game. Not because Joe Burrow isn't that good, but more so because I just don't think the Bengals
Yeah.
would be able to beat the Chiefs without like a number one.
That's actually a really good point. Jamar Chase is a free agent, and he wants a ton of money.
And the Bengals are the Bengals.
Yeah, they might not re-sign him. I didn't even think about that. I think you might be able, honestly, to rule out Lamar Jackson.
You think so?
I don't want to say rule out. How about that? I don't want to say rule out, but I do think the Ravens, as just a team, don't scare me as much.
They don't.
Their offense just doesn't really do it for me.
That's true. I mean,
I
we
don't like the
barely,
receivers. I guess that's it.
The Bills barely beat the Ravens.
Maybe
though.
that's a dumb take, but
I don't know. I think you have a point though. Out of those three, I feel like he's in last right now.
In terms,
I mean, he just lost
yeah,
in the divisional to Josh Allen,
right.
and Joe Burrow. While he didn't make the playoffs, he's made the Super Bowl more times than
Right,
Josh Allen.
that's true. I think in terms of explosive offenses, you have to say it's Burrow, Allen, Lamar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? Because Lamar just has an MVP season.
Joe Burrow
Winning
yeah.
a Super Bowl
Yeah,
and being the best quarterback is like such a different thing. We were just talking about how Jalen Hurts takes a lot of heat, and he's
Lamar hasn't won a big game in the playoff though either.
You could have said the same thing about Josh before last week.
Yeah, right. I mean,
But
if
still,
Burrow if Lamar Jackson beats Josh Allen there, you might have a choice or a chance to say he's the better one, right? But
Yeah.
Allen outplayed him. Yeah,
Kind of.
Allen outplayed him.
Yeah,
in that game.
The Bills won.
Yeah, and he had less turnovers.
Yeah.
And Lamar is very good. He's gonna have 3 MVPs, I assume, at the end of the season. But will he take that extra step in the playoffs? I don't know.
That's kind of like you have it or you don't. I feel like
But
Josh's
also-
whole career has just been great in the playoffs.
And also, right. I've been saying this over and over. It's just Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the playoffs statistically. Lamar is not. And Burrow is very, very good. He just needs that team around him, right? They get some good defensive pieces. They buff the O-line a little bit. I think that they're a really scary team.
Yeah.
But they didn't even make the playoffs this year. So it's hard to say.
Maybe that benefits them. They get a little bit of a better pick. Maybe they can
Right.
trade up, get some O-line.
I do want to say, of the three, it just feels like it might be Joe Burrow because he's the only one that could beat the Chiefs.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, the reason they beat the Chiefs in the first place is mostly because that defense plays their balls off every time they
Yeah.
play the Chiefs. I mean, even this year, We all know how bad Cincinnati's defense was. I think, I don't remember if it was Hilton or, darn, I forgot the other corner that was on the Bengals. The interceptions that they make on Patrick Mahomes. I think someone had a one-handed pick. The Bengals just light a fire under themselves before Chiefs games somehow.
Yeah.
Because they just play better against the Chiefs, and that's the only reason I would go for Joe Burrow. That's it.
I think that's the argument you have to make. It's just Burrow's the only one that can beat Mahomes. Maybe that's stupid to say, but
that's the Burrow black magic.
Yeah,
the Chiefs have their black magic, and then Burrow has that his anti-black magic.
I guess they have like a blocker or something. I don't know. But Cam Taylor-Britt. Is that who you were thinking
of? Yeah, Cam Taylor-Britt. I was almost going to say the hyphenated name.
I was thinking I could see the hyphen in my head, but that's I had to Google it, so it is what it is.
I kept thinking C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's never been a Bengal. So
no. My next question here, unless you want to keep talking about the Bills and the Chiefs, which I doubt you do. Yeah. My next question here, if there were conference championship MVPs, who do you think is the MVP of those two games?
Of those two games?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be on the winning team either.
Yeah, no, I know there's going to be a lot of people running to give it to Saquon, but I think you can give it to Jalen Hurts for the Eagles-Commanders game. And then Bills-Chiefs, I really don't know how you give it up to anyone else besides Patrick Mahomes. Josh played really well, but honestly, Mahomes, he had that one fumble because it was cold.
Yeah.
That's kind of about it. Mahomes still played so well.
Right. The Bills won the turnover battle and still lost the game. So.
Yep, that's the type of stuff that you have to be able to get through when you play the Chiefs. But yeah, I'd give it to Mahomes for Kansas City and Hurts for the Eagles.
Okay.
Do you have anything different?
I guess it's the easy thing to say, but I guess I would give it to Saquon. Jalen Hurts, sure, or Quinion Mitchell.
All right. Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is don't do someone besides the two I just mentioned.
All right. Yeah. So I'll say Quinion Mitchell for this one. Just absolutely limiting any offensive presence for the Commanders, and then I think on defense for the Chiefs, I want to say Nick Bolton for MVP. I think the Chiefs' defense is the reason they won that one. Yeah. So I'll say Nick Bolton. Yeah, that's fine. I think he was there when they needed him most. He had a couple tipped passes. He had that stop when we thought Josh had the first down, but he didn't. He's the leader of that defense, so I'll give the MVP to him.
No, well deserved,
or even Trent McDuffie. But again, he's covering Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper, I guess.
Oh, and I could rant about why we even threw a fade to Keon Coleman.
Oh, trust me, I you know me, I was absolutely livid of that. But
I was just yelling at the TV. But we're not going to talk about this anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I know you don't want to talk about the Bills, right? But I have to bring this up, and I love Brandon Beane. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But should he be under more scrutiny for his early round picks?
All right. Shed some light on this. What are you talking about?
2018, he picks Josh Allen. Great. And Tremaine Edmonds. Those are great picks.
Great.
2019, Ed Oliver.
Great.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick. I wouldn't say it's great.
Not great.
He's kind of been underperforming.
Kind of.
2020, we don't have a first-round pick. We take A.J. Epinesa. He's decent. He's pretty good. Greg Rousseau in 2021. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
But not a great pick.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So you're saying...
I'll say it's a great pick, but it's not game-changing.
Okay.
I think he's very good, and he didn't play very well in the Chiefs game especially, but it's almost like we don't develop defensive tackles, defensive ends. Like there's something going on there. I think Beane is making the right pick, and then it's just not working out or something. I don't know. I can't really figure it out. Defensive tackle-wise, though, and defensive ends for that reason, Rousseau and Oliver are good. They're good. They're great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't say that those are the picks I'm really thinking about. It's the last 3 years where in 2022, pick 23, we took Kyer Elam. That's a miss. A complete miss. And he had a second-round grade on him. That was a reach and a miss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. 2023, pick 25, Dalton Kincaid. It's a reach. It's a reach. I don't think we should have gone with Kincaid there. And we traded up to get him.
Yeah, okay. I mean, maybe
Do we really need a second tight end in the first round?
No, I'm not sure that's necessary.
And don't get me wrong, like he's a good player, but he's nothing special. You get him in the third round, you're like, okay, that's a good pick. That's a great pick. He's helpful. It's really nice to have two tight ends. I mean, Sam Laporta is the best tight end from that class, and he was taken in the second or third round.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a reach. It's a reach for me. I think we should have gone safety. We should have done something to help the I don't know. And I think Keon Coleman this year with pick 33, it's not a first-round pick technically, but it's close enough, traded back to get Keon Coleman. I don't know. What's your opinion on Keon?
Well, it's really hard off, just a rookie season. He definitely would benefit from being, wide receiver 3. He'd probably be more open more often. But I don't know. I think these last 2 seasons where you see us pick up Kincaid and Keon Coleman, I think they knew that they would maybe be moving on from Stephon Diggs in 2023, and that's why we pick up Dalton Kincaid. I think, he's the best offensive weapon at that spot. And then we pick up wide receiver Keon Coleman because, well, we undoubtedly had to. And
I get that.
There may have been better picks there, but I think 2023 and 2024 almost highlight a lack of confidence in Josh Allen. Almost like, can he do it if we don't draft a tight end and a wide receiver back-to-back years?
Tight
end,
I
think ultimately,
I don't know.
Their answers were no. I don't know. I don't think no one was confident that Josh Allen could do it with this weak of a core.
And he did. He did. I just don't think it's the right pick. Do I think we should have gone receiver last year? Yes. Would trading up, just giving up whatever it takes to trade up for Brian Thomas, I think that would have been the right move. And I know that's so much harder than it sounds. And you have to have a trade, someone who's willing to trade with you. And I get that. And I understand that. And I know that's why we traded back with the Chiefs, because they're the only people that wanted to trade with us.
Yeah.
But Keon it never felt like the right pick to me. What is one thing that you would say the Bills need out of their receivers more than anything?
Just to be open. I mean,
yes, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. They need separation. And what is Keon Coleman bad at?
You know what? He's bad at making separation.
He's
but he
bad
can make
at
some
getting
separation. Catches.
Yes, sure. He has good hands. Wouldn't say great because he's had a few drops. And right, he's a rookie. I get it. He has good hands. Does he make good catches in traffic, which is what we drafted him to do? Not really.
No.
Not really.
Besides that,
he doesn't get separation, and he makes good catches because he's in our scheme right now as the wide receiver 1. He's playing the X position. Sometimes he's playing Y. Doesn't matter. He's lined up on the outside no matter what. He's not in slot.
I don't think. Yeah.
He's not getting separation, and he's not making catches in traffic. He's just an average wide receiver. Call me crazy. I think that's what it is. He's an average wide receiver who's getting thrown to by the second best quarterback in the NFL.
I really hope we can look back at this in a year and say,
maybe you know what? Maybe I'm wrong.
In all honesty, you're definitely getting at something there. Do you say that we shift to the focus of organization like the Falcons when it comes to drafting, where you just draft the best that's there?
Absolutely not. I've scrutinized the Falcons drafting enough to tell you no.
Okay,
absolutely
so
not.
You're saying we need to do a lot more trading on draft night if we're not in a spot where we get the
and that's hard. That's hard to say. I mean, that's hard to be like we need to trade because it's not always available.
Yeah, you need to have someone who's willing to give up their pick.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is we're doing the best that they're
We
doing the
can,
best
yeah.
that they can
Yeah.
given where they're at, and I'm sure they wanted Keon and Kincaid to add a little bit more than they have, but in all honesty, I've been happy with Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau.
Yeah, I am happy with those picks. It's just Kyer Elam, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman.
Yeah, and they're the three most recent.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kyer Elam you can officially label a bust. Dalton Kincaid
Yeah,
isn't there
and
yet, and Keon Coleman isn't there yet.
Kincaid isn't a bust in any way. It's just a reach. It is just a reach, and I didn't like Keon when we drafted him, so maybe I have bias. I didn't like him at Florida State. I didn't think it's who the Bills needed. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. You know what? And I've said this. We draft him. He plays great. I'm wrong. That is what it is. But as of now, he's just another receiver.
As of now, you were right.
Can you say he's better than Mac Hollins?
Definitely not. Mac Hollins played his
Right.
balls
That's.
out.
I mean, come on. He's not even.
At
I
least
don't
he
know.
wears funky outfits to the games.
Right. Yeah. I mean, both of them have a good personality, but neither of them are your wide receiver one. But I would say Mac Hollins outplays Keon 9 times out of 10.
We should re-sign. We definitely need to re-sign Mac
I
Hollins.
agree with that.
I
Yeah,
think.
he's a great just second receiver. I think Amari's gone after this year.
Yeah.
Keon will be there, but Keon should be 2, maybe even 3, and Mac should be 2 or 3 as well. Those 2 should be 2 or 3.
Someone better be coming in.
Shakir in the slot. We need an X receiver, and I've been saying that. I don't think Keon's that guy. I don't have anything else to talk about.
No, I mean, unless you want to just take your official pick for the Super Bowl,
Yeah, and we got a whole nother week to do that.
Yeah, so, I mean, if
I'll
you want
say
to save
Eagles
it,
for now, but I do want to talk about it next week as well.
we'll go into depth about it next week.
Yeah.
I'm going to lock in the Chiefs
Wow.
just to oppose you. No,
Fair
I think
enough,
they're
I
gonna
guess.
Win.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win.
I mean, I took Chiefs last week, so it is what it is. We'll do some awards next week because that's coming up soon. I guess we could talk about the Pro Bowl, maybe if anything notable happens. And we'll give our Super Bowl picks, and that'll be next week. But as for this week, that is all we have for the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.